Daniel Hayes stood frozen in the marble lobby of his own company, watching his future collapse in real time. His mother had just introduced him to Victoria Chen, beautiful, polished, and according to the merger contract sitting in his office, his arranged fiancée. Across the room, his new assistant Lily Carter was fumbling with coffee cups, completely unaware she was about to become the center of a lie that would either save him or destroy everything. Daniel's daughter Emma was waiting at home, trusting him to protect the quiet life they'd built. He had 30 seconds to decide. So he lied. If you want to see how one desperate choice can rewrite an entire life, stay until the end. Hit that like button and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. The coffee was burning Lily Carter's fingers through the cheap cardboard sleeve, but she didn't dare set it down. Not on her first day. Not when she was already 10 minutes late because the subway had stalled between stations and her phone had died somewhere around Canal Street, leaving her standing on the platform like an idiot with no idea which exit led to Hayes Industries. She'd expected something intimidating. Glass towers, security checkpoints, receptionists who looked like they'd stepped out of fashion magazines. What she hadn't expected was to walk into what felt like a museum exhibit on wealth, all white marble and sharp angles and lighting so perfect it made everyone look like they were auditioning for a movie about corporate America. The woman at the front desk had barely glanced at her. 17th floor, Mr. Hayes is in a meeting. Wait in the lobby. So here Lily stood, holding 2 cups of coffee she'd been told to pick up from some place 3 blocks away that apparently only served beverages to people who made 6 figures, watching the elevator doors like they might offer some kind of salvation. They opened. A man stepped out. Lily knew who Daniel Hayes was, obviously. You didn't accept a job as someone's executive assistant without doing basic research. But the professional headshot on the company website hadn't prepared her for the actual presence of him, 30 years old and already running an empire, tall enough that she had to tilt her head back slightly, wearing a suit that probably cost more than her entire year's rent. Dark hair, sharp jawline, and eyes that looked like they were calculating 17 things at once. He wasn't looking at her. He was looking at the woman beside him. She was older, maybe mid-50s, with the kind of elegance that came from generational wealth and personal trainers, and never having worried about anything as mundane as subway delays. Her hand rested on Daniel's arm like she owned him. "Darling, she's waiting in the conference room," the woman said. Her voice carried across the lobby. "Victoria flew in this morning specifically for this meeting. You can't keep her waiting." Daniel's jaw tightened. "Mother, we've discussed this." The woman's tone didn't change, but something in it made Lily's spine straighten instinctively. "The merger depends on this relationship. Your personal feelings are irrelevant." Lily looked down at the coffee cups in her hands, suddenly aware she was eavesdropping on something that wasn't meant for hallway conversations. She should leave, find somewhere else to wait. Literally anywhere else. She took a step backward. Her heel caught on the edge of a decorative planter. Both coffee cups went airborne. Time did that thing it does in moments of pure humiliation. It slowed down just enough for Lily to watch the trajectory of 2 $12 lattes as they arced through the air in perfect synchronization, lids popping off mid-flight, liquid catching the overhead lights like some kind of caffeinated fountain display. They hit the marble floor with a sound that echoed through the entire lobby. Silence. Lily stood there, hands still raised in the position they'd been holding the cups, staring at the spreading brown puddle at her feet. Her face was on fire. Her heart was trying to escape through her ribcage. Her voice came out as barely a whisper. "I'm so sorry. I didn't—" "Are you the new assistant?" The older woman's voice cut through Lily's stammering. Lily forced herself to look up. "Yes, ma'am. Lily Carter. I start today. I started. This morning, obviously." She was babbling. She needed to stop babbling. "I'll clean this up immediately. Don't bother." The woman waved a hand dismissively. "Security will handle it." Her gaze swept over Lily with the kind of assessment that made Lily acutely aware of every choice she'd made that morning. The discount blazer, the shoes that were professional but clearly not expensive, the hair she'd tried to tame into something sleek but had given up on around 14th Street. The woman turned back to Daniel. "As I was saying, Victoria is waiting, and this time you won't embarrass this family by walking out." That's when Daniel looked at Lily. Really looked at her. His expression was unreadable, but something shifted behind his eyes. Some calculation Lily couldn't follow. He glanced at his mother, then at the hallway leading to what Lily assumed were the conference rooms, then back at Lily. "Actually," Daniel said slowly, "I need to speak with my assistant. It's urgent." His mother's eyebrows lifted. "Urgent? She just spilled coffee all over the lobby." "Company matter." Daniel's voice didn't rise, but it carried weight. "Give me 5 minutes." Before his mother could respond, Daniel crossed the lobby in 3 long strides and stopped directly in front of Lily. Up close, he was somehow more intimidating, not because of his height or the expensive suit, but because of the intensity in his gaze. "Follow me," he said quietly. Lily blinked. "I should really clean up. Now." It wasn't a request. Lily's feet moved before her brain caught up. She followed Daniel past his mother, whose expression had gone from annoyed to suspicious, past the reception desk where the woman was now staring openly, into a hallway lined with abstract art that probably cost more than Lily's college education. Daniel pushed open a door to what looked like a small meeting room, glass walls, sleek table, chairs that were more sculpture than furniture. He closed the door behind them. Lily stood there, hands still sticky with coffee residue, trying to figure out if she was about to be fired before she'd even officially started. Daniel ran a hand through his hair. For the first time since she'd seen him, he looked less like a CEO and more like a man who just realized he was trapped in a corner with no good options. "I need you to do something," he said. Lily waited. "It's going to sound insane," Daniel continued. "You can say no, but if you say yes, I'll triple your salary." That got Lily's attention. "Triple? And cover your student loans." Lily's student loans were the kind of number that made her nauseous every time she logged into the payment portal. "What do you need me to do?" Daniel looked at her for a long moment. "I need you to pretend to be my girlfriend." The words hung in the air between them. Lily laughed. It came out sharp and disbelieving. "You're joking." "I'm not. You want me to, what, hold your hand in front of your mother? Smile and nod while I need you to meet my daughter," Daniel said quietly. That stopped Lily cold. "Your daughter?" "Emma. She's 5. Daniel's expression shifted, and for the first time Lily saw something other than calculation in his face, something softer, more fragile. "My mother has been pressuring me into an arranged marriage for 6 months. Victoria Chen. Her family owns Chen Technologies. The merger would be worth billions. But Emma—" He stopped, took a breath. "Emma finally stopped asking when her mother is coming back," Daniel said. "It took 2 years, but she stopped. She's happy now, stable. And if I bring some stranger into her life because of a business arrangement, if I disrupt everything she's finally built for herself—" "You're trying to protect her," Lily said. "I'm trying to keep my family from controlling every aspect of my life," Daniel corrected. "But yes, protecting Emma is part of it." He looked at Lily directly. "You don't know me. You have no reason to trust me. But I'm asking you to help me buy some time. A few weeks, maybe a month. Long enough for me to figure out how to end this arrangement without destroying the company." Lily should have said no. Any rational person would have said no. This was her boss. This was her first day. This was a recipe for disaster wrapped in a corporate nightmare. But Lily's rational decision-making skills had never been her strong suit. "What would I have to do?" she asked. Relief flickered across Daniel's face. "Come to a family dinner tomorrow night. Meet Emma. Act like we've been seeing each other for a few weeks. Nothing dramatic. Just present." "Your mother already saw me destroy your lobby," Lily pointed out. "She's going to know something's off." "My mother thinks I'm incapable of genuine emotion," Daniel said. "She won't question it." Lily studied him. There was something almost desperate in the way he was standing, shoulders tense, hands shoved in his pockets like he was trying to keep himself from reaching for something he couldn't have. "Triple salary?" Lily asked. "And student loans?" "Done." Daniel blinked. "Just like that?" "I grew up in 3 different foster homes," Lily said. "I know what it's like when adults use kids as chess pieces. If you're serious about protecting your daughter, then yeah, I'll help." Something shifted in Daniel's expression. Not quite gratitude, but close. "Thank you." Before Lily could respond, the door opened. Daniel's mother stood in the doorway, her gaze moving between them with surgical precision. "Victoria is still waiting, Daniel." Daniel turned. His entire demeanor changed, shoulders straightening, expression smoothing into something polished and unreadable. But then he did something Lily wasn't expecting. He reached over and took her hand. His palm was warm against hers. Steady. "Mother," Daniel said calmly, "I'd like you to meet Lily, my girlfriend." The silence that followed was the kind that makes Adams nervous. Daniel's mother stared at their joined hands like they were a particularly offensive piece of modern art. "Your girlfriend?" "Yes." "Since when?" "A few weeks." Daniel's thumb brushed against Lily's knuckles. It should have felt performative, but instead it felt oddly grounding. "I was waiting for the right time to introduce her." His mother's gaze shifted to Lily. "You're his assistant." "I am," Lily said. Her voice came out steadier than she felt. The job posting didn't mention a non-fraternization policy. "How convenient that you started dating just before the Victoria meeting." His mother's tone could have frozen nitrogen. "How absolutely, remarkably convenient." Daniel's hand tightened around Lily's. "Believe what you want, but I'm not meeting with Victoria. Not today, not ever. The arrangement is over. The board won't accept this. Then the board can find a new CEO." His mother's expression went rigid. For a moment, Lily thought she might actually explode, but instead she smiled, the kind of smile that had nothing to do with humor and everything to do with warfare. "Fine," she said. "Bring her to dinner tomorrow. Let's see how your little girlfriend handles the family." She turned and walked away, heels clicking against marble like gunshots. The moment she disappeared around the corner, Daniel released Lily's hand. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. Lily flexed her fingers, still feeling the ghost of his grip. "For what?" "For dragging you into this." Daniel looked at her, and there was something raw in his expression. "My family isn't kind. Tomorrow is going to be difficult." "I've handled difficult before," Lily said. "Not like this." "Try me." Daniel studied her for a moment longer, then nodded. "I'll send a car for you tomorrow at 6. Dress code is formal." "And Lily—" "Yeah?" "Thank you," he said. "Really?" Lily watched him walk away, disappearing into the maze of hallways that made up Hayes Industries' executive floor. She stood alone in the glass-walled meeting room, covered in coffee stains, holding an employment contract that was about to get a whole lot more complicated. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "This is Daniel. What's your address?" Lily typed it in, hit send, then stared at the message thread. 24 hours ago, she'd been worried about making rent. Now she was fake dating a billionaire to protect his 5-year-old daughter from a corporate arranged marriage. Lily looked down at her coffee-stained blazer, at the discount shoes that were already giving her blisters, at the reflection of herself in the glass wall, messy hair, smudged mascara, looking nothing like someone who belonged in this world. "What the hell did I just agree to?" she muttered. Her phone buzzed again. "Also, you're getting a clothing allowance." "Can't have my girlfriend showing up in something from a clearance rack." Lily's first instinct was to be offended. Her second instinct was to check the number he'd listed as the allowance. Her third instinct was to sit down before her knees gave out. "This is insane," she typed back. "I know," Daniel replied. "See you tomorrow." Lily shoved her phone in her pocket and walked back out into the lobby, where a maintenance crew was already mopping up the coffee disaster. The receptionist gave her a look that somehow managed to be both pitying and impressed. "Rough first day?" the woman asked. "You have no idea," Lily muttered. She made it to the elevator, pressed the button for the ground floor, and leaned against the wall as the doors closed. Tomorrow she'd meet Daniel's daughter. Tomorrow she'd sit across from his family and pretend to be someone she wasn't. Tomorrow she'd step into a life that wasn't hers and pray she didn't destroy it. But today? Today, Lily Carter was going to go home, take a very long shower, and figure out what the hell she was supposed to wear to dinner with people who probably thought her entire annual salary was a rounding error. The elevator doors opened onto the ground floor. Lily stepped out into the sunlight, pulled out her phone, and did what any rational person would do in this situation. She called her best friend. "Jenna? Yeah, it's me. No, I didn't get fired. But I need you to come over tonight because I just agreed to fake date my billionaire boss, and I have no idea what I'm doing, and I think I'm having a panic attack." "Wait, what?" Jenna's voice came through so loud, Lily had to pull the phone away from her ear. "Long story. Can you bring wine?" "I'm bringing a whole damn bottle. No, 2 bottles. Actually, make it 3. I'm leaving work right now. Lily ended the call and started walking toward the subway. Somewhere 17 floors above her, Daniel Hayes was probably already regretting his decision. But Lily had made worse choices in her life. At least this one came with a salary increase. The apartment Lily shared with Jenna was exactly the kind of place you ended up when you were 26, drowning in student debt and trying to make it in a city that seemed designed to break people who didn't come from money. It was a fourth-floor walk-up in a building that had probably been charming in the 1950s but was now just old. The radiator clanged like it was haunted. The bathroom tiles were the color of nicotine stains. The kitchen was so small you had to stand in the hallway to open the oven. But it was theirs. Jenna was already there when Lily walked in, 3 bottles of wine lined up on the counter like soldiers preparing for battle. "Start talking," Jenna said. Lily told her everything. By the time she finished, Jenna had opened the first bottle and poured 2 glasses so full they were basically bowls with stems. "Let me get this straight," Jenna said slowly. "Your billionaire CEO boss asked you to pretend to be his girlfriend to get out of an arranged marriage so he can protect his 5-year-old daughter from corporate family drama, and you said yes. That's the summary, yeah. And he's paying you triple salary plus covering your student loans. Correct?" "Lily." Jenna set down her wine glass and looked at her seriously. "Are you aware that this sounds like the plot of a romance novel?" "It's not romantic," Lily said. "It's a business arrangement. A business arrangement where you hold hands and meet his kid and go to family dinners. For a few weeks? Then it's over." Jenna picked up her wine again. "You realize you're going to fall for him, right?" "I'm not going to fall for him." "You absolutely are. This is textbook. Fake relationship, single dad, misunderstood billionaire." "He's not misunderstood," Lily interrupted. "He's my boss. This is temporary. I'm doing this for the money and because I don't want to see some little kid get used as a bargaining chip. That's it." Jenna gave her a look that said she wasn't buying it, but she didn't push. Instead, she raised her glass. "To bad decisions and good paychecks." Lily clinked her glass against Jenna's. "I'll drink to that." They spent the next hour going through Lily's closet, which was a depressing exercise in realizing she owned exactly 0 things appropriate for dinner with people who measured wealth in geological timescales. "You need to use that clothing allowance," Jenna said, holding up a dress Lily had worn to a cousin's wedding 3 years ago. "And I mean actually use it. Don't try to be noble and save the money." "It feels weird," Lily admitted. "Spending his money on clothes. It's not his money, it's your money. He gave it to you. That's how employment works." Jenna tossed the dress aside. "Besides, if you show up looking like you just walked out of a TJ Maxx clearance section, his family's going to eat you alive." She wasn't wrong. Lily ended up online shopping until midnight, clicking through pages of dresses that cost more than her monthly rent, feeling increasingly like she was preparing for a role in a play she hadn't auditioned for. She finally settled on something simple, black, elegant, expensive enough to look intentional, but not so flashy it screamed, "I'm trying too hard." Overnight shipping. It would arrive tomorrow afternoon. By the time Lily collapsed into bed, her brain was spinning with everything that could go wrong. What if Daniel's daughter hated her? What if his family saw through the lie immediately? What if she said something stupid and ruined everything? What if... Her phone buzzed. A text from Daniel. "Emma's excited to meet you. I told her you were coming to dinner." Lily stared at the message. "What did you tell her about me?" The response came quickly. "That you're kind, that you make me laugh, that you're important to me." Lily read the words 3 times. They were just part of the story, part of the performance. But something about seeing them written out made her chest feel tight. "I'll do my best not to disappoint her," Lily typed back. "You won't." Lily set the phone down and stared at the ceiling. Tomorrow, she'd step into Daniel Hayes' world. Tomorrow, she'd meet a 5-year-old girl who'd already lost one important person in her life. Tomorrow, she'd sit across from a family who'd probably spent more on tonight's dinner than Lily made in 6 months. And somehow, she'd have to make it look real. Lily closed her eyes. Somewhere across the city, Daniel Hayes was probably doing the same thing. 2 strangers, bound by a lie that was supposed to protect a little girl from the machinery of wealth and power. What could possibly go wrong? The dress arrived at 3 p.m., which gave Lily exactly 2 hours to shower, do her makeup, and have a quiet breakdown in the bathroom before the car showed up. Jenna had left work early to supervise, which mostly involved her sitting on the closed toilet lid offering commentary while Lily tried on the dress for the fourth time. "You look good," Jenna said. "I look like I'm playing dress-up." "That's literally what you're doing." Lily turned to face the mirror. The dress fit perfectly. Somehow the online sizing gods had smiled on her. But she still felt like an imposter. The fabric was too nice. The cut was too elegant. This wasn't her. "Stop spiraling," Jenna said. "You're meeting a 5-year-old, not the Queen of England." "I'm meeting a 5-year-old whose family owns half of Manhattan," Lily corrected. "There's a difference." Kids don't care about money. They care about whether you're nice and whether you'll play with them. Just be yourself. Lily wanted to point out that being herself was exactly what got her into trouble most of the time, but her phone buzzed before she could argue. Cars downstairs. Lily's stomach did something complicated. "Okay," she said, mostly to herself. "Okay, I can do this." Jenna stood up and adjusted the shoulders of Lily's dress with the kind of precision usually reserved for wedding photographers. "You've got this. And if it goes badly, we'll order Thai food and watch terrible reality TV until you forget billionaires exist." "Deal." Lily grabbed her purse, also new, also purchased with Daniel's money, also making her feel like a fraud, and headed downstairs. The car waiting at the curb wasn't just nice. It was the kind of vehicle that made pedestrians stop and stare. Black, sleek, with windows tinted so dark Lily couldn't see inside until the driver stepped out and opened the door for her. "Miss Carter?" "That's me." The interior smelled like leather and wealth. Lily slid into the back seat and tried not to think about how her monthly rent could probably cover about 30 minutes of this car's insurance. The drive took 20 minutes, winding through streets that got progressively quieter and more tree-lined until they pulled up to a building that looked less like an apartment complex and more like something out of an architecture magazine. All glass and steel and minimalist elegance. The driver opened her door. "Mr. Hayes is expecting you on the penthouse level," he said. "The concierge will direct you." Lily stepped out onto the sidewalk and looked up. The building seemed to go on forever. She was definitely going to throw up. The lobby was exactly as intimidating as she'd feared. Marble floors, abstract sculptures, a front desk staffed by people who looked like they'd been hired based on bone structure. One of them smiled at her with the kind of professional warmth that didn't quite reach the eyes. "Miss Carter, Mr. Hayes asked us to send you directly up." They directed her to a private elevator that required a key card to operate. The doors closed, and Lily watched the floor numbers climb. Penthouse level. Of course it was the penthouse level. The elevator opened directly into an apartment that was less a living space and more a statement about what happened when you had too much money and hired the right interior designer. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. The furniture looked like it belonged in a museum. Everything was white or glass or some combination of the two. And standing in the middle of it all, looking almost as uncomfortable as Lily felt, was Daniel Hayes. He changed out of his suit into something more casual, dark jeans, a fitted shirt with the sleeves rolled up. It should have made him look more approachable. Instead, it just made him look like a cologne advertisement. "You made it," he said. "Your driver was very convincing." Daniel almost smiled. "Can I get you something to drink? Wine? Water?" "Water's good." Lily needed to stay sharp. Wine would only lead to bad decisions, and she'd already hit her quota for the week. Daniel disappeared into what Lily assumed was the kitchen and returned with a glass of water that was probably filtered through diamonds or something equally ridiculous. "Emma's in her room," Daniel said. "I wanted to talk to you first, go over a few things." "Like what story we're telling?" "Like boundaries." Daniel set his own glass down on a coffee table that was definitely worth more than Lily's car. "Emma's been through a lot. Her mother—" He stopped, took a breath. "Her mother left when Emma was 2. No warning, no explanation. Just packed a bag one night and didn't come back." Lily's chest tightened. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. We're better off." Daniel's voice was flat, but there was something underneath it, something raw. "But Emma still remembers enough to know that people leave. So if you're going to be in her life, even temporarily, I need you to be consistent. Don't make promises you won't keep. Don't tell her you'll be there if you're planning to disappear in a month." "I won't," Lily said quietly. Daniel looked at her for a long moment, like he was trying to decide whether to believe her. My family is going to test you tonight. They're going to ask invasive questions and make subtle digs and generally try to figure out whether you're real or just another problem they need to solve. Don't let them get to you. Any specific topics I should avoid? All of them, if possible. Daniel ran a hand through his hair. My mother is going to focus on your background. My Uncle Richard will ask about your career plans. And my cousin Jennifer will probably just insult you directly. She doesn't believe in subtlety. Sounds delightful. It's not. Daniel's expression softened slightly. But Emma will love you. She's been talking about meeting you all day. Before Lily could respond, a small voice called out from somewhere down the hallway. Daddy? Is she here? Daniel's entire demeanor shifted. The hard edges smoothed out. His expression went soft in a way Lily hadn't seen before. Yeah, sweetheart, he called back. You can come out. The girl who appeared in the doorway was tiny, all dark curls and big eyes, and wearing a dress that had definitely been picked out by someone with strong opinions about looking presentable. She looked at Lily with the kind of unfiltered curiosity that only children can pull off. Hi, Emma said. Lily's heart did something stupid. Hi. Are you Daddy's girlfriend? Lily glanced at Daniel, who gave her the smallest nod. I am, Lily said. Emma walked closer, her steps careful and deliberate. What's your name? Lily. That's a flower name. It is. I like flowers. Emma stopped about 3 feet away, still studying Lily with an intensity that was mildly terrifying. Do you like flowers? I do, Lily said, especially the yellow ones. Sunflowers? Those are my favorite. Emma's face lit up. Mine, too. Just like that, the tension in the room evaporated. Daniel was watching them with an expression Lily couldn't quite read. Relief, maybe, or something close to it. Emma, we need to leave in a few minutes, Daniel said gently. Why don't you show Lily your room while I finish getting ready? Emma's eyes went wide. Really? Really? Emma grabbed Lily's hand, her small fingers wrapping around Lily's with zero hesitation, and started pulling her down the hallway. Come on! I have to show you my stuffed animals. I have 17. Well, 16 and a half because Mr. Whiskers lost an ear, but Daddy says he still counts. Lily let herself be dragged into a bedroom that was surprisingly normal. No designer furniture or minimalist aesthetics here, just toys scattered across the floor, drawings taped to the walls, a bookshelf overflowing with picture books. This is Mr. Whiskers, Emma said, holding up a battered stuffed cat. And this is Princess Sparkle. And this is Bob. Bob? He's a penguin. Penguins have simple names. Lily bit back a smile. That makes sense? Emma proceeded to introduce Lily to every single stuffed animal, providing detailed backstories for each one. Lily listened, asking questions when appropriate, and tried not to think about how easy this felt. How natural. Do you have any stuffed animals? Emma asked. I used to, Lily said. When I was your age, I had this bear named Patches. He was brown with a little red bow tie. What happened to him? I don't know. I moved around a lot when I was little, and somewhere along the way he got lost. Emma's expression turned serious. That's sad. Yeah, Lily agreed. It was. You can share Mr. Whiskers if you want, Emma said, holding up the one-eared cat. He's good at making people feel better. Lily's throat went tight. That's really kind of you. Daddy says being kind is the most important thing. Your daddy's right. Emma climbed onto her bed, still holding Mr. Whiskers. Are you going to stay? The question caught Lily off guard. What do you mean? Daddy's girlfriends don't usually stay. Emma said it matter-of-factly, like she was discussing the weather. They come for dinner sometimes, but then they leave and don't come back. Lily's heart cracked a little. Has there been a lot of them? 3, maybe 4. I don't really remember. Emma hugged Mr. Whiskers closer. But you seem nicer than them, so maybe you'll stay. Lily sat down on the edge of Emma's bed, choosing her words carefully. I'm going to be around for a while. I work with your dad, so you'll see me. I promise I won't just disappear. Okay. Emma seemed satisfied with that answer. Do you want to see my drawings? Absolutely. They spent the next 10 minutes going through Emma's art collection, which ranged from abstract scribbles to surprisingly detailed attempts at drawing the city skyline. Emma narrated each one with the kind of confidence Lily wished she'd had at that age. "Emma, Lily, we need to go." Daniel's voice came from the doorway. Emma hopped off the bed. "Can Lily sit next to me in the car?" "If she wants to." Emma looked at Lily hopefully. "I'd love to," Lily said. The car ride to Daniel's mother's house took 30 minutes, and Emma filled most of it with questions. What was Lily's favorite color? Did she like ice cream? Had she ever seen a real elephant? Did she know how to braid hair? Lily answered each one honestly, and tried not to think about how Daniel was watching them in the rearview mirror with an expression she couldn't quite decipher. The house they pulled up to wasn't a house. It was an estate. Gates, a circular driveway, columns that belonged on a government building. Lily's anxiety, which had been manageable during the drive, spiked immediately. "Remember," Daniel said quietly as the car stopped, "don't let them intimidate you." "Too late," Lily muttered. Emma grabbed her hand again. "It's okay. Grandma's house is scary, but the food is really good." They walked up to the front door together, Daniel, Lily, and Emma, looking for all the world like an actual family. The door opened before they reached it, held by a man in an actual butler uniform. "Mr. Hayes, Miss Carter, Miss Emma." "Hi, Robert," Emma said cheerfully. They stepped inside and Lily tried not to stare at the chandelier hanging in the entryway. It was the size of her entire bathroom. Voices drifted from somewhere deeper in the house. Laughter, the clink of glasses. Daniel's hand found the small of Lily's back. "Ready?" "No." "Good answer." They walked through a series of hallways that belonged in a period drama, finally emerging into a dining room where about a dozen people were already gathered. The conversation stopped the moment they appeared. Daniel's mother stood near the fireplace, holding a glass of wine. Her gaze locked onto Lily immediately. "Daniel," she said, "you're late." "Traffic," Daniel replied smoothly. "And you brought her?" "Her name is Lily, Mother, and yes, I brought my girlfriend to a family dinner. That's generally how relationships work." A woman who looked about Daniel's age, blonde, sharp-featured, dripping in jewelry, stepped forward. "So this is the mysterious assistant." "Jennifer," Daniel said. "Always a pleasure." Jennifer's smile didn't reach her eyes. "I'm sure." She turned to Lily. "You must be very special. Daniel doesn't usually bring his flings to family events." "I'm not a fling," Lily said before she could stop herself. "We'll see." "Jennifer, that's enough." An older man, silver-haired, wearing a suit that probably cost more than Lily's college tuition, moved to stand beside Daniel's mother. "Let's at least pretend we have manners." "Uncle Richard," Daniel said. "Good to see you." Richard's gaze moved to Lily with the kind of assessment that made her feel like a stock portfolio being evaluated. "Lily Carter, I did some research after Daniel's little announcement. Foster care system, state school, worked 3 jobs through college. Impressive, really." Lily forced herself to smile. "Thank you. Though I have to wonder what someone with your background could possibly have in common with my nephew." "Uncle Richard," Daniel started. "It's fine," Lily interrupted. She looked Richard directly in the eye. "You're right. I don't come from money. I don't have family connections or a trust fund or any of the things that probably matter in your world. But I work hard. I don't lie. And I care about people more than I care about stock portfolios. If that's not enough common ground, then I don't know what to tell you." Silence. Emma tugged on Lily's hand. "I like you," she whispered. Jennifer laughed, sharp and brittle. "Well, she's got a spine, at least." "Dinner's ready," a voice announced from the doorway. Everyone moved toward the massive dining table that dominated one end of the room. Daniel guided Lily to a seat near the middle, with Emma on her other side. The meal started civil enough. Polite conversation about business, about upcoming charity galas, about people Lily had never heard of doing things she couldn't imagine caring about. She mostly stayed quiet, answering direct questions when asked, but otherwise letting the conversation flow around her. Emma, bless her, kept things bearable. She asked Lily to help cut her chicken. She whispered commentary about which relatives were boring and which ones were nice. She made the whole evening feel slightly less like a performance and more like something almost real. Then Daniel's mother set down her wine glass and looked directly at Lily. "So Lily," she said, "how long have you and Daniel been seeing each other? A few weeks, was it?" "About 6, Lily said. The lie came easier than it should have. And how did you meet? Through work, I assume. Yes. How convenient. His mother's smile was ice. And tell me, when Daniel hired you, did he know you'd end up in his bed? Or was that a happy accident? Mother, Daniel's voice went hard. It's a fair question, his mother continued. After all, office romances are so often about opportunity rather than genuine connection. Lily felt every eye in the room turn toward her. She could have stayed quiet, could have let Daniel defend her, could have played the victim and let his family think whatever they wanted to think. But Lily had spent too many years in system that treated her like she was disposable to start playing that role now. With all due respect, Lily said calmly, I didn't pursue Daniel. He pursued me. And if you're implying that I'm using him for money or status or whatever else you think someone like me would want, you're wrong. I took this job because I needed work. I'm with Daniel because he's kind to his daughter and he makes me laugh and he treats me like I'm worth something. If that's not a good enough reason for you, then frankly, I don't care. The silence that followed was deafening. Then Emma spoke up. I think Lily's nice. She knows about sunflowers. Despite everything, several people at the table smiled. Daniel's mother, however, did not. Emma, sweetheart, why don't you go play in the sitting room? The adults need to talk. But I'm not done eating. Now, Emma? Emma looked at Daniel, who nodded. It's okay, sweetheart. I'll come get you in a few minutes. Emma slid off her chair, but not before squeezing Lily's hand. Don't let Grandma be mean to you. I won't, Lily whispered. The moment Emma left the room, the atmosphere shifted. Daniel, his mother said, a word. In private. Anything you want to say to me, you can say here. Fine. His mother stood, and suddenly she looked less like a society matriarch and more like a general preparing for war. This girl is not suitable for you. She has no family, no connections, no understanding of the world you live in, and more importantly, she's a distraction from the arrangement we've spent months negotiating. The arrangement is over, Daniel said flatly. The board won't accept that. Then the board can find someone else to run the company. You'd give up everything you've built for some assistant you've known for 6 weeks? I'd give it up to protect my daughter from being used as a bargaining chip, Daniel shot back. And if that means walking away from this family and everything that comes with it, then fine. I'll walk. His mother's face went pale. You don't mean that. Try me. The tension in the room was suffocating. Lily could feel her pulse in her throat. Then Uncle Richard cleared his throat. Perhaps we're getting ahead of ourselves. Daniel, no one is asking you to sacrifice your happiness, but you have to understand, the Chen merger represents billions in potential growth. Victoria's family has been planning this for over a year. You can't just walk away without consequences. Watch me, Daniel said. Jennifer leaned back in her chair looking almost amused. This is entertaining. I haven't seen you this worked up since Harvard. Stay out of this, Jennifer. Oh, I'm just observing. Jennifer's gaze shifted to Lily. Though I have to admit I'm curious. What exactly do you bring to this relationship, Lily, besides the whole rags to riches narrative? Jennifer, Daniel started. No, it's fine. Lily looked at Jennifer directly. You want to know what I bring? I bring honesty. I bring someone who doesn't see Emma as a prop in a corporate strategy. I bring someone who actually cares whether Daniel is happy instead of just profitable. And if that's not valuable in your world, then maybe your world is the problem. Jennifer blinked. Then she laughed. Genuine this time. Okay, I like her. Jennifer, you're not helping, Daniel's mother snapped. Actually, I think I am. Jennifer stood up. Look, I think this whole arranged marriage thing is medieval. If Daniel wants to date someone who actually makes him smile instead of just signing contracts, maybe we should let him. The company's not going to collapse because we didn't merge with Chen Technologies. The board works for us, not the other way around. Jennifer picked up her wine glass. I'm voting in favor of Daniel's relationship. Anyone else? Silence. Then, slowly, a few hands went up around the table. Not everyone, but enough. Daniel's mother looked like she'd been slapped. This isn't over, she said quietly. Yeah, it is, Daniel replied. He stood up and held out his hand to Lily. Come on, let's go get Emma. Lily took his hand and let him pull her to her feet. They walked out of the dining room together, leaving behind a table full of people arguing in sharp whispers. Emma was in the sitting room, playing with a dollhouse that was nicer than most actual houses. She looked up when they entered. "Are you okay?" she asked Lily. "I'm fine," Lily said. And surprisingly, she meant it. "Did Grandma yell?" "A little bit. She does that sometimes." Emma went back to rearranging tiny furniture. "But Daddy doesn't let her be too mean." Daniel crouched down next to his daughter. "Hey, Em, how would you feel about getting ice cream on the way home?" Emma's face lit up. "Really? Really? Can Lily come?" Daniel looked at Lily. "If she wants to." "I want to," Lily said. They left through a side door, avoiding the dining room entirely. The driver was waiting, and within minutes they were pulling away from the estate. Emma fell asleep in the back seat before they even made it to the ice cream place, her head resting against Lily's shoulder. Daniel watched them in the rearview mirror. "Thank you," he said quietly. "For what?" "For not running." Lily looked down at Emma's sleeping face. "I meant what I said in there, about not disappearing." "I know." Daniel's voice was soft. "That's what scares me." Lily didn't ask what he meant. She just sat there in the back of a car that cost more than she'd make in 5 years, with a 5-year-old asleep on her shoulder and a man in the front seat who was supposed to be her boss but was starting to feel like something more complicated. They skipped the ice cream. Daniel drove them back to his apartment, carrying Emma inside without waking her. Lily waited in the living room while he put her to bed, staring out at the city lights and trying to process everything that had just happened. When Daniel came back, he poured 2 glasses of whiskey and handed one to Lily. "You did good tonight," he said. "Your cousin hates me." "Jennifer doesn't hate anyone. She just enjoys making people uncomfortable." Daniel took a sip of his drink. "But my mother is going to be a problem. She thinks I'm using you. She thinks everyone is using everyone. It's how she sees the world." Daniel set his glass down. "But she's not wrong that this is complicated. Because I'm your assistant. Because you're the first person in years who's made Emma laugh like that." Daniel looked at her directly. "And that makes this whole thing a lot less fake than it's supposed to be." Lily's heart did something stupid again. "Daniel, I know," he interrupted. "This was supposed to be temporary. A few weeks to get my family off my back. But Emma is already attached to you, and I—" He stopped, ran a hand through his hair. "I don't know what I'm doing anymore." Lily should have left then. Should have called a car, gone home, put distance between herself and whatever this was turning into. Instead, she stayed. "One day at a time," she said quietly. Daniel looked at her for a long moment. "Yeah, one day at a time." Lily finished her drink and finally called for a ride. Daniel walked her to the elevator. "Same time next week?" he asked. "Family brunch. Much less formal." "I'll be there." The elevator doors started to close. Daniel stopped them with his hand. "Lily? Yeah?" "Thank you," he said. "Really." The doors closed. Lily rode down 17 floors, walked out into the night, and climbed into another expensive car that would take her back to her 4th-floor walk-up in a building with haunted radiators. Her phone buzzed. A text from Jenna. "How did it go?" Lily stared at the message. How did it go? She'd lied to a room full of billionaires, defended herself against a woman who could probably buy and sell her entire life, made a 5-year-old girl smile, and felt something real with a man she was supposed to be fake dating. "Complicated," she typed back. "Good complicated or bad complicated?" Lily looked out the window at the city passing by. "I have no idea." The week that followed, the family dinner passed in a blur of normalcy that felt anything but normal. Lily showed up to work every morning, sat at her desk outside Daniel's office, answered emails and scheduled meetings, and did all the things an executive assistant was supposed to do. And every afternoon around 3, Daniel would find some excuse to stop by her desk. Questions about scheduling, reminders about upcoming events, comments about the weather that didn't need to be made. They were dancing around something neither of them wanted to name. Emma made it harder. She'd started calling Lily. Not often, just once or twice in the evenings, always with Daniel's phone, always with some urgent question that absolutely could not wait until tomorrow. Did Lily think unicorns were real? What was her favorite kind of cookie? Could she come over this weekend and help build a fort? Lily said yes to the fort, which is how she ended up in Daniel's living room on a Saturday afternoon, surrounded by couch cushions and bed sheets, and a 5-year-old architect with very specific ideas about structural integrity. No, it has to go like this, Emma insisted, repositioning a pillow for the third time. Otherwise, the roof will fall. You're right, Lily agreed. My mistake. Daniel watched from the kitchen, ostensibly making lunch, but mostly just observing. He changed out of his usual work clothes into jeans and a t-shirt that had probably cost $300 but looked wonderfully normal. His hair was slightly messy. He looked younger like this. Less like a CEO and more like just a dad trying to figure out how to make grilled cheese without burning it. "Daddy, you're doing it wrong," Emma called out. "You have to butter both sides." "I know how to make grilled cheese, Em." "Then why does it always taste weird?" Lily bit back a laugh. Daniel shot her a look that said he was absolutely going to remember this moment for later retaliation. They ate lunch inside the fort. 3 plates balanced on laps, Emma chattering about everything and nothing, sunlight streaming through the sheet roof in patterns that made the whole thing feel almost magical. Lily had grown up in places where forts were escapes from reality, temporary shelters built to hide from adults who didn't care, or situations that felt too big to handle. This was different. This was a fort built just for fun, in a home where the worst thing that could happen was a collapsed roof made of Egyptian cotton. "Can Lily stay for movie night?" Emma asked Daniel through a mouthful of grilled cheese. "That's up to Lily," Daniel said. Emma turned to her with eyes that should be illegal in negotiation settings. "Please?" "We're watching the one with the singing animals." Lily looked at Daniel, who shrugged in a way that suggested he'd already lost this battle before it started. "Okay," Lily said, "but I get to pick the snacks." Emma's resulting cheer could probably be heard 3 floors down. Movie night turned into dinner, turned into Emma falling asleep on the couch between them, her head on Lily's lap and her feet tucked under Daniel's arm. The credits rolled. Neither of them moved. "I should get her to bed," Daniel said quietly. "Probably," but he didn't move. And neither did Lily. They sat there in the dim light of the television, a sleeping child between them, pretending this was still pretend. Finally, Daniel carefully extracted himself and scooped Emma into his arms. She stirred, but didn't wake, just wrapped her arms around his neck with the kind of trust that made Lily's chest hurt. "I'll be right back," Daniel whispered. Lily nodded. She stood up and started cleaning, collecting plates, folding the blanket Emma had been using, putting the living room back into some semblance of order. It felt domestic in a way that should have scared her. Instead, it felt right. Daniel came back 15 minutes later. "She's out," he said. "Won't wake up until morning." "She's a good kid." "Yeah." Daniel picked up the last of the dishes and carried them to the kitchen. Lily followed. They worked in silence, loading the dishwasher, wiping down counters, moving around each other with the kind of choreography that only comes from repetition. When everything was clean, Daniel poured 2 glasses of wine and gestured toward the balcony. "You don't have to stay," he said. "But if you want to," Lily took one of the glasses. "I want to." The balcony overlooked the city, lights stretching out in every direction, the sounds of traffic muted by height and distance. Lily leaned against the railing and tried not to think about how much she didn't want to leave. "This is getting complicated," Daniel said. "I know." "Emma's attached to you." "I know that too." Daniel was quiet for a moment. "My mother called yesterday. She's planning another family event, some charity gala next month. She wants us there." "As in, wants to parade me around and see if I crack under pressure?" "Essentially, yes." Lily took a sip of wine. "What do you want?" Daniel looked at her. Honestly, I want to tell my mother to go to hell. I want to pull Emma out of that school where half the parents treat her like she's a business opportunity. I want to stop pretending I care about board meetings and stock prices and mergers." He stopped. "But I can't, because all of that pays for this apartment and Emma's education and the stability she needs." "You ever think about walking away?" Lily asked. "Every day." Daniel's voice was soft. "But then I think about Emma growing up without the resources I had. Or worse, growing up like I did, knowing my family only cared about what I could provide for the company, and I can't do that to her." Lily understood that. The need to protect someone from the things that had hurt you, the weight of trying to build something better than what you'd been given. For what it's worth, she said, I think you're doing a good job. Emma's happy. That counts for something. Is it enough? Lily didn't have an answer for that. They stood there in silence, the city humming below them, and Lily realized she was in trouble. Real trouble. The kind that started with fake relationships and ended with actual feelings that had no business existing between a billionaire CEO and his assistant who'd only been in his life for 3 weeks. I should go, Lily said finally. Daniel didn't argue. I'll call you a car. I can take the subway. Lily, she looked at him. Let me call you a car, he said. Please. So she did. The car arrived 20 minutes later, and Daniel walked her down to the lobby. They stood in the elevator in silence, close enough that Lily could smell his cologne, something expensive and understated that probably had a waiting list. The doors opened. Thank you, Daniel said. For today. For Emma. Any time. She meant it. Lily climbed into the car and watched through the tinted window as Daniel disappeared back into his building. Her phone buzzed. A text from Jenna. Are you falling for him? Lily stared at the message. She could lie. Say it was still just an arrangement, still just about the money and the student loans and helping a kid who reminded her too much of herself. But Jenna would know. Yes, she typed back. Fuck. Yeah. The following Monday, everything changed. Lily arrived at work to find Daniel's office door closed and voices raised inside. She couldn't make out the words, but the tone was clear. Someone was angry. The door opened. Victoria Chen walked out. Lily had seen photos, of course. The internet was full of them. Society pages, business profiles, carefully curated Instagram posts showcasing a life of wealth and beauty and strategic connections. But in person, Victoria was something else entirely. Tall, elegant, wearing a suit that probably cost more than Lily's monthly salary, with the kind of confidence that came from never having been told no. She looked at Lily with the expression of someone cataloging a problem. You must be the assistant, Victoria said. I am. And the girlfriend, apparently. Victoria's smile was ice. How convenient. Before Lily could respond, Daniel appeared in the doorway. His expression was carefully neutral, but Lily could see the tension in his shoulders. Victoria was just leaving, he said. I was just getting started. Victoria turned back to face him. You can't honestly expect me to believe you're dating her. This is clearly a stunt to get out of our arrangement. Believe what you want, Daniel said, but the arrangement is over. My father won't accept that. Then your father can take it up with me directly. Victoria's eyes narrowed. You're making a mistake, Daniel. Our families have been planning this merger for over a year. Walking away now will have consequences. I'll handle the consequences. Will you? Victoria's gaze shifted back to Lily. And what about her? Does she understand what she's getting into? The scrutiny, the pressure, the expectations that come with being attached to someone like you? That's none of your concern, Daniel said. Everything about this company is my concern. My family has invested millions in this merger. Victoria stepped closer to Lily, and suddenly the temperature in the room seemed to drop. Let me give you some advice, Lily. Whatever Daniel is paying you to play this role, it's not worth it. Because when this falls apart, and it will fall apart, you'll be the one left dealing with the wreckage. He'll move on, find another assistant, another convenient excuse. But you? You'll be the girl who tried to social climb her way into a world that will never accept her. Lily felt her face flush, but she kept her voice steady. I'm not being paid to do anything except my job. Of course not. Victoria's smile was poison. You're just coincidentally dating your boss right when he needs a reason to back out of a major business deal. How romantic. Victoria, that's enough, Daniel said. Is it? Victoria's composure cracked slightly. You humiliated my family, Daniel. You made promises, signed contracts, and now you're throwing it all away for some girl you've known for 3 weeks. I'm throwing it away because I won't let my personal life be dictated by board members and stock prices. Your personal life is the company. It always has been. Victoria grabbed her purse from where she'd set it on Lily's desk. But fine. Walk away. See what happens when my father pulls his support. See how long your precious board stands behind you when the Chen Technologies deal collapses, and takes half your subsidiary contracts with it. She walked toward the elevator, heels clicking against the polished floor. Then she stopped and turned back. "One more thing," Victoria said, looking directly at Lily. "I did some research. Foster care, 3 different homes. Mother died of an overdose when you were 6. Father, unknown. You spent your entire childhood being passed around to people who didn't want you. And now you've found someone who does. Or at least, someone who's pretending to. I wonder how long it'll take before you realize he's just like all the others, using you until something better comes along." The words hit like a physical blow. Lily's hands clenched at her sides, nails digging into her palms. She wanted to say something cutting, something that would wipe that smug expression off Victoria's face. But her throat was tight, and her eyes were burning, and she couldn't trust her voice not to break. Daniel moved so fast, Lily barely registered it. One second he was standing in his office doorway, the next he was between Lily and Victoria, his entire body radiating controlled fury. "Get out," he said quietly. "Daniel, get out." His voice was steel. "And if you ever speak to her like that again, you'll find out exactly how unpleasant I can make things for you and your family. Board seat or not." Victoria's face went pale. For a moment, she looked like she might argue. Then she turned and walked into the elevator without another word. The doors closed. Silence filled the office. Lily stood frozen, still processing what had just happened. The details Victoria had thrown at her weren't secret. Anyone with internet access could find them with a few searches. But hearing them laid out like that, weaponized, used to prove she didn't belong. "Lily." She looked up. Daniel was watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. "I'm sorry," he said. "She had no right. She's not wrong, though." Lily's voice came out quieter than she intended. "About my background. About how this looks. She's completely wrong." Daniel stepped closer. "About all of it. You're not being used. This isn't—" He stopped, ran a hand through his hair. "This started as an arrangement. I won't pretend it didn't, but it's not that anymore, not for me." Lily's heart did something complicated. "Daniel, we can't—" "I know." He looked as frustrated as she felt. "I know all the reasons this is a bad idea. You work for me. There's a power dynamic. Emma's already attached. My family will make your life hell, but I can't keep pretending I don't—" He stopped again. "I care about you, Lily, more than I should. More than is probably smart." Lily opened her mouth to respond, but her phone rang. Daniel's phone rang at the same time. They both looked down at their screens. Emma's school. Daniel answered first. "This is Daniel Hayes." Lily watched his expression change. Confusion, then alarm, then something close to panic. "I'm on my way," he said. He ended the call and looked at Lily. "Emma's sick. They want me to pick her up immediately." "Go," Lily said. "I'll handle everything here." "Come with me." "What?" "Please." Daniel was already grabbing his jacket. "She was asking for you this morning. If she's sick, she'll want—" He didn't finish the sentence, but Lily understood. They took Daniel's car, weaving through midday traffic with the kind of speed that suggested traffic laws were more like suggestions. Daniel's hands were tight on the steering wheel, his jaw clenched. "She's fine," Lily said. "Kids get sick all the time." "I know." But he didn't slow down. They reached the school in 15 minutes, a private institution that looked more like a country club than an elementary school. The front office staff recognized Daniel immediately. "Mr. Hayes, Emma's in the nurse's office. She's been running a fever since lunch." They followed the staff member down a hallway lined with children's artwork, into a small room where Emma sat on an examination table looking miserable. "Daddy," she said, and her voice was small and tired in a way that made Lily's chest hurt. Daniel was beside her immediately. "Hey, sweetheart, how are you feeling?" "My tummy hurts, and my head." Emma noticed Lily standing in the doorway. "You came too." "Of course I did." Emma reached out and Lily moved closer, taking her small hand. The school nurse appeared with a thermometer reading and a concerned expression. "Her fever is 101.5. Nothing too serious, but we don't allow students to stay if they're running a temperature. I'd recommend taking her to the pediatrician just to be safe." Daniel nodded. "I'll call Dr. Morrison on the way home." They got Emma bundled into the car, Daniel carrying her because she'd decided walking was too much effort, and headed back toward his apartment. Lily sat in the back with Emma, who'd curled up against her side. "Will you stay?" Emma asked quietly. "Do you want me to?" "Yeah." Lily looked at Daniel in the rearview mirror. He nodded. "Then I'll stay," Lily said. The pediatrician made a house call. Apparently that was something that happened when you had enough money, and confirmed it was just a mild virus. Rest, fluids, children's Tylenol. Emma would be fine in a few days. But Emma, running on fever logic and feeling miserable, had decided she needed 3 specific things: her stuffed cat Mr. Whiskers, juice that wasn't too cold, and for Lily to read her stories. Daniel handled the first 2. Lily handled the third. She sat on the edge of Emma's bed reading from a picture book about a mouse who wanted to be a princess, while Emma drifted in and out of sleep. Daniel stood in the doorway, watching. When Emma finally fell asleep for real, Lily carefully extracted herself and followed Daniel back to the living room. "Thank you," he said. "For staying. She asked me to." "I know, but you didn't have to." Lily sat down on the couch, suddenly exhausted. "Your ex really did a number on her, didn't she?" Daniel was quiet for a moment. Emma's mother, Sarah, she wasn't a bad person, just young and unprepared and terrified of being trapped. She left a note saying she couldn't do it anymore. Couldn't be a mother, couldn't be a wife, couldn't be the person everyone expected her to be. He sat down on the opposite end of the couch. "I was angry for a long time. At her for leaving, at myself for not seeing it coming. But mostly I was just scared that Emma would grow up thinking she wasn't enough, that she was the reason her mother left." "Is that why you're so careful about who you let into her life?" "Yeah." Daniel looked at her directly. "And that's why what Victoria said earlier about you being temporary, about me using you, that made me angrier than anything else she could have said, because she was wrong. You're not temporary to Emma. And you're not—" He stopped. "You're not temporary to me either." Lily's breath caught. "Daniel, I know this is complicated," he interrupted. "I know I'm your boss and that there's a power imbalance and that we started this whole thing as a lie. But somewhere along the way, it stopped being a lie. At least for me." Lily wanted to say that it had stopped being a lie for her too, that she looked forward to Emma's evening phone calls and Daniel's afternoon visits to her desk, and the moments when they felt like an actual family instead of people playing roles. But before she could find the words, her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "This is Victoria. I apologize for what I said earlier. It was unprofessional and cruel. But I meant what I said about consequences. Daniel's making a mistake, and when it all falls apart, you'll be the one left picking up the pieces. Consider this a warning from someone who's seen how his family operates." Lily stared at the message. "What is it?" Daniel asked. She showed him the text. His expression went hard. "She's trying to scare you. Maybe she's trying to warn me. Victoria doesn't do anything without an agenda." "That doesn't mean she's wrong." Lily set her phone down. "Your mother already hates me. Now Victoria and her family are going to see me as the reason a billion-dollar deal fell through. Your board is going to question your judgment. And Emma—" Her voice caught. "Emma's going to get attached to someone who might not be able to stay. Why wouldn't you be able to stay?" "Because I'm your assistant, Daniel. Because there are rules about this kind of thing. Because eventually someone at the company is going to notice and file a complaint or leak it to the press, or then I'll deal with it." "How?" "I don't know yet." Daniel moved closer. "But I'm not letting my family or the board or anyone else dictate who I care about. I spent too many years letting them control my life. I'm done." Lily wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that this could somehow work despite all the ways it could fall apart. But she'd been the kid who got moved between foster homes when things got too complicated. She'd been the one who learned not to get attached because nothing good ever stayed. And now she was falling for a man whose entire world was built on expectations she could never meet, loving a little girl who deserved stability instead of someone who'd walked into her life 3 weeks ago. "I need time," Lily said quietly. "To think." Daniel nodded. "Okay. I should go." "Lily, I'll see you at work tomorrow," she said. "We can figure this out then." She left before he could argue. before she could change her mind, before she could do something stupid like stay. The elevator ride down felt longer than it should have. Lily walked out into the evening air and pulled out her phone to call a car. Another text appeared. This one from Daniel. Whatever you decide, Emma and I will understand, but I hope you stay. Lily's eyes burned. She got in the car and gave the driver her address and tried not to think about a 5-year-old girl who'd asked her to stay, or a man who'd looked at her like she was something worth keeping, or the way it had felt to sit in that apartment and read bedtime stories and pretend she belonged. Her phone rang. Jenna. Hey, Lily answered. You sound like hell. Thanks. What happened? Lily told her everything. Victoria's visit, Emma getting sick, Daniel's confession, the text message warning her away. So what are you going to do? Jenna asked when she finished. I don't know. Yes, you do. Lily was quiet. You're scared, Jenna said. Which I get. But Lily, you've spent your entire life protecting yourself from getting hurt by never letting anyone in. And now you've found someone who actually wants to let you in, and you're looking for reasons to run. It's not that simple. It never is. But the question isn't whether it's simple. The question is whether he's worth the risk. Lily closed her eyes. Was he? Was Emma? The car pulled up to her building. Lily thanked the driver and climbed the 4 flights of stairs to her apartment. She unlocked the door, dropped her bag on the floor, and sat down on the couch in the dark. Her phone buzzed. A photo from Daniel. Emma, asleep in her bed, clutching Mr. Whiskers. The caption, she asked if you'd come back tomorrow. Lily stared at the photo. That little girl trusted her, believed she'd stay, believed she was someone worth loving. And Daniel, complicated, guarded, trying so hard to protect his daughter while fighting a family that saw people as assets. He'd looked at Lily like she mattered, like she was enough. Victoria's words echoed in her head. You've spent your entire childhood being passed around to people who didn't want you. But Emma wanted her. Daniel wanted her. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. Lily picked up her phone and typed a message. I'll be there tomorrow. Tell Emma I said goodnight. The response came immediately. Thank you. Then another message. For what it's worth, I think you're worth the risk too. Lily set her phone down and let herself cry. Not from sadness, but from the overwhelming terror of letting herself want something this badly. Tomorrow, she'd go back to that apartment. Tomorrow, she'd figure out how to navigate a relationship that broke every professional boundary. Tomorrow, she'd start building something real instead of just pretending. But tonight, she let herself imagine what it might feel like to actually belong somewhere, to be chosen, to stay. Emma's fever broke on the 3rd day, and with it came the kind of boundless energy that only existed in children who'd been forced to stay still for too long. She bounced into the living room where Lily was working on her laptop, Daniel having insisted she work from the apartment while Emma recovered. I'm bored, Emma announced. Lily looked up from the spreadsheet she'd been staring at for 20 minutes without actually reading. Your dad said you need to rest. I've been resting for 3 whole days. That's like 1,000,000 years in kid time. Is that so? Yeah, can we do something, please? Lily glanced toward Daniel's office, where he'd been on a conference call for the past hour. The door was closed, his voice a low murmur filtering through. What did you have in mind? Lily asked. Emma's face lit up. Can you teach me how to braid hair, like the ones you do? Lily touched her own braid self-consciously. It was nothing fancy, just a way to keep her hair out of her face. You want to learn how to braid? Yeah. Then I can do yours and you can do mine, and we can match. Something in Lily's chest squeezed tight. Okay, go get your hairbrush. Emma ran off and returned with a brush and approximately 17 hair ties. They settled on the couch, Emma sitting cross-legged in front of Lily, while Lily gently worked through the tangles in her dark curls. My mom used to brush my hair, Emma said quietly, before she left. Lily's hand stilled. Do you remember her? A little bit. She smelled like flowers, and she used to sing this song about butterflies. Emma was quiet for a moment. Do you think she thinks about me? The question was so small, so fragile, that Lily had to swallow hard before answering. I think, Lily said carefully, that anyone who knew you would think about you, because you're pretty unforgettable. Daddy says she just wasn't ready to be a mom. Sometimes that happens. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It just means she wasn't in a place where she could be what you needed. Emma considered this. Are you ready? Ready for what? To be a mom someday. Lily's breath caught. I don't know. I've never really thought about it. You'd be good at it, Emma said with the kind of certainty only children possess. You're patient, and you don't get mad when I ask too many questions, and you always remember to cut the crust off my sandwiches. Those are pretty important qualifications. The most important. Emma twisted around to look at Lily. Do you love my dad? The question hung in the air between them. Lily could have deflected, could have said something vague about how adults have complicated feelings, could have changed the subject entirely. But Emma was looking at her with those big, earnest eyes, and Lily had never been good at lying to children. I think I might, Lily said quietly. Emma smiled. Good, because he loves you too. I can tell. How can you tell? He smiles different now, like he means it. Emma turned back around. Are you done with my braid yet? Lily finished the braid, secured it with one of the 17 hair ties, and tried not to think about how a 5-year-old had just articulated what she'd been too scared to admit to herself. Daniel's office door opened. He emerged looking tired, running a hand through his hair in that way he did when calls went badly. Then he saw them on the couch, Emma with her fresh braid, Lily with her hand still tangled in Emma's hair, and his expression softened. Lily did my hair, Emma announced. Look, we match. Daniel's gaze moved between them. You do? Can she stay for dinner? Emma, Lily's been here for 3 days. She probably wants to go home. Actually, Lily said, surprising herself, dinner sounds good. Emma cheered. Daniel's expression did something complicated, relief and gratitude, and something else Lily couldn't quite name. They ordered Italian, Emma's choice, and ate at the dining table like an actual family. Emma talked non-stop about everything she wanted to do once she was allowed back at school. Daniel listened with the kind of attention that suggested he'd perfected the art of engaged parenting while simultaneously thinking about 17 other things. Lily just watched them, memorizing the moment, the way Emma gestured wildly when she got excited, the way Daniel's hand rested on his daughter's shoulder, grounding and gentle, the way the evening light came through the windows and made everything feel warm and possible. After dinner, Emma convinced them to play a board game that had rules she'd clearly made up as they went along. Daniel played along with exaggerated seriousness. Lily cheated shamelessly to let Emma win. When Emma finally went to bed, after 3 separate requests for water, 2 bathroom trips, and 1 lengthy negotiation about whether Mr. Whiskers needed a bath, Daniel and Lily ended up on the balcony again. It was becoming their spot, the place where they said the things that were too big for anywhere else. She asked me if I loved you, Lily said. Daniel went very still. What did you tell her? The truth? Which is? Lily looked at him directly. That I think I might. Daniel crossed the distance between them in 2 steps. His hand came up to cup her face, thumb brushing her cheekbone. I'm trying really hard to be professional about this, to respect the fact that you work for me and that there are rules and boundaries and 100 good reasons why this is a terrible idea. But I'm failing spectacularly. His voice was rough. Because I don't want to be your boss, Lily. I don't want this to be an arrangement or a performance or something we're doing to keep my family at bay. I want... What do you want? You, he said simply. However I can have you. Lily's heart was doing something arrhythmic and possibly dangerous. Daniel, I know all the reasons this is complicated, but I fired my last 3 assistants for being incompetent, not because I was sleeping with them, so I'm pretty sure I can separate professional from personal. That's not how HR sees it. Then I'll deal with HR. Your mother will lose her mind. My mother lost her mind the day I was born, wanting to control every aspect of my life. This won't be new for her. Lily wanted to argue, wanted to list every logical reason why this was a disaster waiting to happen. But Daniel was looking at her like she was something precious, like she mattered more than board meetings and family expectations and corporate strategy. And Lily was so tired of protecting herself from things that might hurt. Okay, she said. Daniel blinked. Okay? Yeah, okay, let's do this. The real version, not the fake one. You're sure? No, I'm terrified, but I'm doing it anyway. Daniel's smile was slow and genuine and did absolutely unfair things to Lily's ability to think clearly. I can work with terrified. He leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away, to change her mind, to remember all those logical reasons. Lily didn't pull away. The kiss was soft and careful, and tasted like the wine they'd been drinking. Daniel's hand was still cupping her face, his thumb stroking her cheek, and Lily's hands found their way to his chest, feeling his heartbeat under her palms. When they finally pulled apart, Lily was breathing hard and Daniel looked slightly dazed. "That was—" he started. "Yeah." They stood there for a moment, foreheads touching, neither quite ready to step back into reality. "What happens now?" Lily asked. "Now we figure it out, one day at a time. Your family is going to hate this. They'll survive. The board will adjust or find a new CEO. I'm done letting other people dictate my life." Lily wanted to believe it was that simple, but she'd seen enough of Daniel's world to know nothing about it was simple. Still, maybe simple wasn't the point. Maybe the point was just being willing to try. The following Monday, everything blew up. Lily arrived at work to find Daniel's office already full of people, board members, she realized, and they did not look happy. Daniel was standing behind his desk, arms crossed, expression carved from stone. "Miss Carter," one of the board members said, "perfect timing. We were just discussing your relationship with Mr. Hayes." Lily's stomach dropped. "I'm not sure what you mean." "Don't play games," another board member snapped. "We have sources that confirm you and Daniel have been romantically involved while you're employed as his assistant. That's a clear violation of company policy." "There's no policy against workplace relationships," Daniel said flatly. "I checked. There's policy against supervisors dating their direct reports. It creates liability issues." "Then I'll transfer Lily to another department." "That doesn't solve the problem. The Chen family is threatening to pull all their investments because you broke off the arrangement. Victoria's father sits on our board. He wants your resignation." The room went quiet. Daniel's expression didn't change. "Then he can have it." Every head in the room turned. "Excuse me?" the first board member said. "I resign, effective immediately." Daniel's voice was calm, almost casual. "I've spent 5 years building this company into something profitable. I've secured partnerships, increased revenue by 40%, and established Hayes Industries as a major player in tech development. But if being CEO means sacrificing my personal life and letting this board dictate who I can care about, then you can find someone else." "Daniel, think about what you're saying." "I have thought about it." He looked at each board member in turn. "I've thought about it every day for the past month, and I'm done. My lawyer will be in touch about the transition." He walked around the desk, took Lily's hand, and headed for the door. "Daniel!" one of the board members called. "If you walk out that door, there's no coming back." "Good," Daniel said without turning around. They made it to the elevator before Lily found her voice. "What did you just do?" "Something I should have done years ago." Daniel pressed the button for the ground floor. "You just quit your job." "I just quit a job that was making me miserable." "Daniel, that company is your life." "No." He looked at her directly. "That company was my family's life. It was never mine. I inherited it because my father expected me to. I ran it because that's what Hayes men do. But I never wanted it. Not really." The elevator doors opened. They walked through the lobby together, past the receptionist who looked thoroughly confused, past security, out into the morning sunlight. Lily's head was spinning. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know yet. Figure it out. Maybe start something smaller, something that's actually mine." Daniel stopped on the sidewalk and turned to face her. "You think I'm crazy. I think you just walked away from billions of dollars." "I walked away from a prison." His hand was still holding hers. "And I'd do it again. For you, for Emma. For the chance to actually live instead of just existing. Your mother is going to kill you." "Probably, but she'll get over it." He paused. "Or she won't. Either way, I'm done letting her control my decisions." Lily's phone started ringing, then Daniel's, then both their phones simultaneously, messages flooding in. They ignored them. "Come on," Daniel said. Let's go get Emma from school early. Take her to the park. Do something normal." Normal people don't just quit their CEO positions on a Monday morning. Then we'll be weird together. They picked up Emma, who was thrilled at the unexpected early dismissal and didn't ask questions about why both of them looked slightly shell-shocked. They went to the park, where Emma ran around on the playground while Daniel and Lily sat on a bench and watched. "I should probably be panicking," Daniel said. "Probably. But I'm not. I feel—" He paused. "Light. Like something I've been carrying for years just fell off my shoulders." Lily understood that feeling. The relief that came with finally making a choice instead of having choices made for you. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now we figure out what comes next, all of us." He gestured toward Emma, who was hanging upside down from the monkey bars. "Together. I still work for you, technically, until they process your resignation. Then you're fired." Lily's head snapped toward him. "What?" "You're fired, effective immediately." Daniel was trying not to smile. "Which means there's no employment relationship, no supervisor-subordinate issues, no HR violations." "You can't just fire me." "I absolutely can. I'm the CEO for approximately another 12 hours. Consider it my last official act." He turned to face her. "And then, when you're no longer my employee, I'd like to ask you out on a proper date. Dinner, maybe. Somewhere that doesn't involve my family or business negotiations or pretending to be something we're not." Lily stared at him. "You're insane." "Is that a yes?" "You just upended your entire life." "Best decision I ever made." Emma ran over, breathless and pink-cheeked. "Can we get ice cream?" "Absolutely," Daniel said. "Can Lily come live with us?" Both adults froze. "Emma?" Daniel started. "What? You like her. She likes you. She's already there all the time anyway, and I need someone to help me with my hair." Lily felt her face heat. "Sweetie, that's not really how it works." "Why not?" It was a fair question. Daniel was watching Lily with an expression that suggested he was also waiting for the answer. "Because," Lily said carefully, "grown-ups usually date for a while before they move in together." "How long is a while?" "Longer than 3 weeks." Emma considered this. "What if I get sick again and need someone to read me stories?" "Then I'll come over." "Promise?" "Promise." Emma seemed satisfied with that answer. She grabbed both their hands and pulled them toward the ice cream truck parked near the park entrance. They got ice cream, chocolate for Emma, vanilla for Lily, something complicated with caramel for Daniel, and sat on the grass watching people walk by, normal people doing normal things. No board meetings, no family drama, no corporate strategies, just 3 people eating ice cream in the park on a Monday afternoon. Lily's phone buzzed again. Another message. She glanced at it. "Jenna, what the hell happened? It's all over the business news. Daniel Hayes resigned." Lily typed back. "Long story. We'll call you tonight." Daniel's phone was ringing again. He declined the call without looking at it. "That's the 4th time your mother's called," Lily said. "I know. You're going to have to talk to her eventually." "Eventually. Not today." Emma had finished her ice cream and was now attempting to climb a tree. Daniel watched her with the expression of a parent who knew he should probably intervene but was choosing his battles. "I'm going to need a job," Lily said, "since you fired me. You could work with me on whatever comes next. That's still a professional relationship. Then work somewhere else. Build your own career. Do whatever makes you happy." Daniel looked at her. "I just want you in my life. The professional details we can figure out. You're being very cavalier about unemployment. I have savings and investments, and honestly, after 5 years of that board, unemployment sounds amazing." Lily laughed despite herself. "You're ridiculous. You like me anyway." "Unfortunately." "Emma, not that high." Daniel was on his feet, moving toward the tree where his daughter had made it approximately 10 feet up and was showing no signs of stopping. Lily watched him coax Emma down with the kind of patient negotiation that suggested this was not the first tree-related incident. Emma eventually agreed to descend in exchange for a promise of pancakes for dinner. "Deal," Daniel said. They left the park as the sun started setting, Emma walking between them, holding both their hands. People probably looked at them and saw a normal family doing normal things. And maybe that's what they were becoming. Not perfect, not uncomplicated, but real. Daniel's mother was waiting at his apartment. She was sitting in the lobby, spine straight, expression carved from ice. The doorman looked apologetic, but helpless. "Mother," Daniel said carefully. "Don't." Her voice could have frozen blood. "Don't you dare speak to me like nothing happened." Emma, sensing tension, pressed closer to Lily. "We should talk," Daniel's mother continued. "Privately. Anything you want to say to me, you can say in front of Lily." His mother's gaze shifted to Lily with unconcealed disdain. "This is your fault. You manipulated my son into throwing away everything he built." "I did this," Daniel interrupted. "Not Lily. Me. I chose to resign because I was tired of living a life designed by committee. I chose to prioritize my happiness and my daughter's well-being over stock prices and board approval. And I chose Lily because she's the first person in years who's made me feel like something other than a corporate asset. You've destroyed your career, humiliated this family, broken contracts that will cost us millions in legal fees." His mother's composure was cracking. "All for some girl you barely know. I know her well enough to know she's worth it. You're being a fool." "Then I'm a fool." Daniel's voice was steady. "But I'm a fool who gets to choose his own life." His mother looked at him for a long moment. Then her gaze shifted to Emma, who was partially hidden behind Lily's legs. "Emma, sweetheart," his mother said, her voice softening slightly. "Come give Grandma a hug." Emma didn't move. It's okay," Daniel said gently. "I don't want to," Emma said quietly. "She's mean to Lily." His mother's face went pale. "Emma," she started. "You made her sad. At the dinner. I heard you." Emma's small voice carried across the lobby. "And people who are mean to people I love aren't nice." Silence. Daniel's mother stood there, visibly shaken, staring at her granddaughter like she was seeing her for the first time. "I was protecting this family," she said finally. "No," Daniel replied. "You were protecting an idea of what this family should be. There's a difference." His mother's hands clenched at her sides. "When you realize what a mistake this was, don't expect me to fix it." "I won't." She turned and walked toward the door, heels clicking against marble. Then she stopped. "That girl will break your heart," she said without turning around. "People like her always do." "People like her?" Lily's voice was quiet but firm. "You mean people who didn't grow up with trust funds? People who had to work for everything they have? People who actually know what it's like to struggle?" Daniel's mother turned. "I mean," she said coldly, "people who don't understand that love isn't enough. Not in our world. You'll see. When the money runs out, when the novelty wears off, when reality sets in, you'll leave, just like his ex-wife did, and Emma will be the one who pays the price." "I'm not leaving," Lily said. "We'll see." She walked out. The lobby was silent except for the faint hum of traffic outside. Emma was still pressed against Lily's side. Daniel looked exhausted. "Well," he said finally, "that went better than expected." Lily stared at him. How could that possibly have gone worse? She could have brought the board with her, or leaked it to the press before I had a chance to control the narrative, or tried to contest my custody of Emma. Daniel ran a hand through his hair. This was actually relatively civil for her. They went upstairs. Emma, worn out from the day's excitement, asked for the promised pancakes. Daniel made them, only slightly burned, while Lily set the table and tried to process everything that had happened in the span of 12 hours. After Emma went to bed, Daniel poured 2 drinks and they sat on the couch in silence. "You okay?" Lily asked finally. "Honestly, I don't know." Daniel stared at his glass. "I just walked away from everything I've spent my adult life building. My mother effectively disowned me. The business press is probably having a field day, and I have no idea what I'm doing next." "Regrets?" He looked at her. "Not even one." Lily believed him. "What now?" she asked. "Now we figure out what normal looks like." Daniel set his glass down. "I've never had normal. Never had a relationship that wasn't strategic or a decision that wasn't filtered through what was best for the company. This is new for me." "It's new for me, too," Lily admitted. She stopped. "I've never had something real enough to be worth fighting for." Daniel reached over and took her hand. We'll figure it out together. Your mother thinks I'm going to leave. My mother thinks everyone is going to leave. It's her default setting. But what if she's right? What if this is too hard and Then we deal with it. Daniel's thumb brushed across her knuckles. But I don't think you will. I've seen the way you are with Emma, the way you've handled my family and the board and every impossible situation I've thrown at you. You don't run from hard things, Lily. You face them head on. Lily wanted to argue, to point out all the times she had run, all the foster homes she'd moved between, all the relationships she'd sabotaged before they could sabotage her. But maybe this time could be different. Maybe this time she could stay. One day at a time, she said. One day at a time, Daniel agreed. They sat there in the quiet, hands linked, and let themselves imagine what tomorrow might bring. 6 months later, Lily stood in a coffee shop she couldn't have afforded a year ago, waiting for a latte that cost more than her old weekly grocery budget, and realized she'd stopped feeling like an imposter. The realization hit her somewhere between ordering and paying, a quiet shift that had happened so gradually she hadn't noticed until now. She belonged here, not because of Daniel's money or his connections, but because she'd built something of her own. Her phone buzzed, a text from Emma. Can we have tacos for dinner? Daddy says you get to pick, but I'm making a suggestion. Lily smiled and typed back, tacos sound perfect. Extra cheese? Extra cheese. The coffee shop door opened and Jenna walked in looking harried and carrying approximately 6 bags. Sorry I'm late, Jenna said, collapsing into the chair across from Lily. The subway was a nightmare and I had to pick up supplies for the shelter and… She stopped. You look different. Different how? Happy. Like, actually happy. Not pretending everything's fine happy. Lily considered this. I think I might be. Because of Daniel. Because of a lot of things. Lily handed Jenna the second latte she'd ordered. Daniel's part of it, but also the new job, and Emma, and finally feeling like I'm doing something that matters instead of just surviving. After Daniel had resigned, Lily had spent 2 months applying to positions that actually interested her. Nonprofit work, advocacy programs, organizations that helped kids in foster care. She'd landed a role at a foundation that placed resources with families who needed support, using everything she'd learned from her own childhood to make sure other kids didn't fall through the cracks. The pay was a fraction of what she'd made as Daniel's assistant, but she woke up every morning actually wanting to go to work. How is Daniel doing? Jenna asked. I saw the article about his new company, something about sustainable tech? Educational technology for underfunded schools, Lily corrected. He's partnering with public school systems to develop affordable learning tools. It's smaller than Hayes Industries, but he actually cares about it. And his family? Lily's expression shifted. That's still complicated. Sauce complicated was an understatement. Daniel's mother hadn't spoken to him in 6 months. His Uncle Richard had tried to orchestrate a reconciliation that was really just a thinly veiled attempt to get Daniel back under family control. Jennifer had been the only one to actually show up, bringing expensive wine and blunt observations about how much happier Daniel seemed. The Hayes family board had imploded spectacularly after Daniel's resignation. The Chen merger had fallen through, costing them billions. 3 board members had resigned. The stock price had dropped 30% before stabilizing. Daniel had watched it all from a distance, feeling nothing but relief. What about Victoria? Jenna asked. Haven't heard from her since that text. Lily took a sip of her latte. I think she moved on to the next strategic marriage opportunity. Good riddance. They talked for another hour. Jenna updating Lily on her dating disasters, Lily sharing stories about Emma's latest obsession with dinosaurs. Normal friend conversation, the kind Lily had never really had time for when she was working 3 jobs and drowning in debt. Daniel had insisted on paying off her student loans. Lily had refused. They'd argued about it for 2 weeks before compromising. He'd pay half, she'd handle the rest with her new salary. It would take her 5 years, but they'd be her 5 years, her achievement. Some independence was worth the monthly payments. When Lily got back to Daniel's apartment, their apartment now, though she still sometimes slipped and called it his, Emma was building an elaborate dinosaur habitat out of couch cushions. Lily, look, this is the Cretaceous period and the T-Rex is about to fight the Triceratops. That's very accurate, Lily said, dropping her bag and settling onto the floor next to Emma. What happens next? They become friends and share their food. I don't think that's how it actually went. It's how it should have went. Nobody needs to fight over food if they just share. Emma's dinosaur philosophy was going to make her either a very good human or a very frustrated paleontologist. Daniel emerged from his office looking tired but satisfied. He'd been working 16-hour days getting the new company off the ground, fueled by coffee and genuine passion instead of family obligation. "How was Jenna?" he asked, kissing Lily's forehead before sitting down next to them. "Good. She asked about you. Should I be worried? She thinks you're a good influence on me." High praise from Jenna. Emma crashed her T-Rex into a pillow with sound effects.
"Daddy, can we go to the museum this weekend? They have a new dinosaur exhibit, and I need to see it for research." "Research for what?" "My future career as a dinosaur scientist." "Last week you wanted to be an astronaut." "I can be both. I'll study space dinosaurs." Daniel looked at Lily with an expression that said, "Help me." "Space dinosaurs sound very important," Lily said solemnly. "We should definitely support this research." "Traitor," Daniel muttered.
They made tacos for dinner. Emma's requested extra cheese, turning into basically cheese with a side of taco, and ate at the kitchen counter because the dining table was still covered in Daniel's work papers. Normal chaos, the kind Lily was learning to love. After Emma went to bed, Daniel pulled Lily onto the balcony, their spot, where everything important got said. "I got a call from my mother today," he said. Lily went still. "And?" "She wants to meet, talk. She didn't apologize, but the fact that she's reaching out at all is significant." "What did you say?" "That I'd think about it." Daniel was quiet for a moment. "Part of me wants to tell her to go to hell, but Emma asks about her grandmother sometimes, and I don't want Emma growing up thinking family just abandons each other when things get hard." "Even though that's exactly what your mother did?" "Yeah, even though." He looked at Lily. "What do you think?" "I think it's your choice, and whatever you decide, I'll support it." Lily paused. "But if you do meet with her, I'm coming with you." "You don't have to." "I'm coming with you," Lily repeated, "because you don't face your family alone anymore. That's what partners do." Partners. The word still felt new, but Lily was getting used to it. They weren't engaged, weren't rushing toward any traditional milestones. Just building something day by day, figuring out what worked for them instead of following someone else's timeline. Daniel's arms came around her waist, pulling her back against his chest. "I don't deserve you." "Probably not, but you're stuck with me anyway." "Good." They stood there watching the city lights, and Lily thought about how far she'd come from that first day spilling coffee in the Hayes Industries lobby. How terrified she'd been. How certain she was going to mess everything up. She had messed things up in some ways, made mistakes, said the wrong things, doubted herself more times than she could count, but she'd also stayed, built something real, chosen to be brave instead of safe. "Lily?" Daniel's voice was quiet. "Yeah?" "Move in with me. Officially, not just staying over most nights and keeping clothes in my closet. Actually, move in." Lily's heart did something complicated. "Emma asked me the same thing 6 months ago. And you said adults date for a while first. We have been dating for a while. So is that a yes?" Lily turned in his arms to face him. "It's terrifying." "I know. What if we mess it up? What if living together is different than just dating? What if—" Daniel kissed her, soft and sure and tasting like the wine they'd had with dinner. "What if it works?" he said when they pulled apart. "What if it's exactly what we both need?" Lily looked at him. This man who'd walked away from billions to protect his daughter, who made terrible grilled cheese and worked too hard and loved with the kind of ferocity that came from knowing what it was like to be used instead of cherished. "Okay," she said. "Yes, I'll move in." Daniel's smile was worth every moment of terror. The following week, Daniel met with his mother. Lily came along, as promised, and sat in a restaurant that was probably older than the city itself, while Daniel's mother offered what passed for an apology in her world. "I may have been hasty in my judgment," she said, not quite meeting anyone's eyes. "You seem happy. And Emma speaks very highly of you, Lily." It wasn't much, but it was something.
I appreciate that, Lily said carefully. Daniel's mother looked at her son. The board asked me to extend an offer. They want you back as CEO.
They're willing to negotiate terms. No, Daniel said immediately. Daniel, no, he repeated. I'm done with that life. I'm building something that actually matters to me, something that helps people instead of just making shareholders richer. And I'm not giving that up. His mother's lips pressed into a thin line. You're wasting your potential. I'm using my potential, just not the way you wanted me to. They left 20 minutes later, the conversation ending in the same stalemate it had started. But Daniel's mother had asked to see Emma next weekend. A small step. Maybe the beginning of something less broken. Or maybe not. Either way, Daniel was done letting it control his life. Moving Lily's belongings into the apartment took exactly 1 day because she'd never accumulated much. A few boxes of clothes, some books, photographs from the handful of good moments in her childhood.
Emma helped unpack, offering commentary on every item. Why do you have a stuffed bear? Emma asked, holding up the worn brown bear Lily had somehow managed to keep through all the moves. That's Patches. I've had him since I was your age. He's missing an eye. I know, it fell off a long time ago. Emma studied the bear seriously. Mr. Whiskers is missing an ear. Maybe they're friends. She placed Patches carefully next to Mr. Whiskers on her bed. Lily's throat went tight.
That night after Emma was asleep and the boxes were mostly unpacked, Lily stood in the bedroom, her bedroom now, and tried to remember the last time she'd had a space that felt permanent. Daniel appeared in the doorway. You okay? Yeah, just thinking. About? How I spent most of my life trying not to get attached to places because I knew I'd have to leave eventually. And now I'm here, and I don't want to leave, and it's terrifying. Daniel crossed the room and pulled her into his arms. You don't have to leave. This is your home now, for as long as you want it to be. What if I mess it up? Then we fix it, together. His hand came up to cup her face. You're not alone anymore, Lily. You don't have to protect yourself from everyone. Not from me. Not from Emma. We're not going anywhere. Lily let herself believe him. The foundation where Lily worked launched a new program 3 months later, connecting foster families with mentorship resources and educational support. Lily had designed most of it, drawing from her own experiences to build something that might have helped the version of herself that had moved between homes, wondering if anyone would ever choose to keep her. The launch event was small but meaningful. Daniel came with Emma, who was excited because there was cake. Jenna came with her new girlfriend. A handful of families attended, looking cautiously hopeful. Lily stood at the front of the room and talked about why the program mattered, about how kids in the system needed more than just housing. They needed people who saw them as humans instead of problems to solve. They needed stability and support and someone who'd show up consistently. Emma sat in the front row, swinging her legs and beaming with pride. Afterward, a woman approached Lily. She looked young, maybe mid-20s, and nervous. I was in foster care too, the woman said. 7 different homes before I aged out. And I just wanted to say thank you for building something that might have made it easier. Lily hugged her. You made it through. That takes strength. So did you. They talked for 20 minutes, sharing stories, swapping advice, building the kind of connection that only comes from shared experience. When the woman left, Lily felt lighter somehow, like she'd taken all the hard parts of her past and turned them into something that could help someone else. That was worth something. That was worth everything. Daniel found her on the balcony later that night, staring out at the city again. Proud of you, he said. For what? For turning pain into purpose. For being brave enough to help other people even though it means revisiting your own trauma. For being exactly who Emma and I needed. Lily leaned into him. I used to think I had to be perfect to be worth keeping. That if I just worked hard enough, didn't cause problems, didn't ask for too much, maybe someone would let me stay. And now I know I'm worth keeping because of who I am, not despite it, messy parts and all. Daniel kissed the top of her head. Messy parts and all. Emma appeared in the doorway, rubbing her eyes. I had a bad dream. Come here, sweetheart, Daniel said. Emma climbed between them, and they stood there, 3 people who'd all been broken in different ways, who'd found each other by accident and chosen to stay on purpose. A year after Daniel resigned from Hayes Industries, his new company secured its first major contract, a partnership with the city's public school system to provide tablets and educational software to underfunded schools. The deal wouldn't make him a billionaire again, but it would help thousands of kids access resources they otherwise wouldn't have. Daniel celebrated by taking Emma and Lily to a diner that served breakfast all day. "This is a weird place to celebrate," Emma observed, dumping syrup on her pancakes. "Your dad proposed to your mother in a 5-star restaurant," Daniel said, "and that marriage lasted 3 years. I'm trying a different approach." Lily nearly choked on her coffee. "Proposed?" Daniel pulled out a small box. Lily's heart stopped. "I'm not asking you to marry me," Daniel said quickly. "Not yet. Not until you're ready. But I wanted you to know that I'm ready, whenever you are, however long it takes." He opened the box. Inside was a simple ring, nothing ostentatious, just a thin gold band with a small stone. "It was my grandmother's," Daniel said, "the only family heirloom I actually care about. She was the one person in my family who chose love over obligation, who left her wealthy family to marry a teacher because she actually loved him. And I want you to have it, not as an engagement ring, just as a promise that I'm not going anywhere." Lily stared at the ring, then at Daniel, then at Emma, who was watching with sticky syrup fingers and hopeful eyes. "Can I think about it?" Lily asked. "Take all the time you need." She thought about it for exactly 3 days. Then she found Daniel in his office, surrounded by paperwork and empty coffee cups, and said, "Okay." He looked up. "Okay, what?" "Okay, I'll marry you, when you actually ask, which I'm giving you permission to do now, if you want." Daniel stood up so fast his chair rolled backward. "You're sure?" "Terrified, but sure." "Lily Carter, will you?" "Yes." He laughed. "I didn't finish the question." "Don't care. The answer is yes." Daniel kissed her, and Lily felt the last piece of armor she'd been carrying fall away. The part that had always been waiting for people to leave. The part that never quite believed she deserved to be chosen. She was chosen. She was home. Emma cheered when they told her. "Does this mean Lily's my mom now?" "That's up to Lily," Daniel said. Lily crouched down to Emma's level. What do you want?" Emma thought about it seriously. "I want you to be my mom, but not the kind who leaves, the kind who stays." "I'm definitely the kind who stays." "Okay, then yes." They got married 6 months later in a ceremony that was small and simple, and everything a Hayes family wedding wasn't supposed to be. No 500-person guest list, no designer dress that cost more than a car, no elaborate reception at a venue with a 2-year waiting list. Just close friends, Emma as the flower girl, and vows that were honest instead of polished. Daniel's mother attended. She didn't smile, but she came. That was something. Jennifer was there too, giving a toast that was equal parts touching and inappropriate. To Daniel, who finally stopped letting the family board dictate his life. And to Lily, who had the audacity to walk into our world and refuse to play by our rules. You're both insane, and I love you for it. The reception was in Daniel's apartment, their apartment, with catering from the diner where Daniel had proposed. Emma insisted on a dinosaur cake. They danced in the living room to music that was too loud and definitely bothering the neighbors. It was perfect. Not because everything went smoothly. The food ran out early. Someone spilled wine on the white couch. Emma had a meltdown about having to share Lily with other people. But it was theirs, real and messy and built on choice instead of obligation. Later, after everyone left and Emma had finally crashed from sugar and excitement, Lily and Daniel stood on the balcony one more time. "We did it," Daniel said. "We did." "Any regrets?" Lily looked at the ring on her finger, his grandmother's ring, now hers, a symbol of choosing love over expectation. "Not one," she said. And she meant it, because the thing about building a life from scratch was that you got to decide what mattered. You got to choose who stayed and who left. You got to write your own ending instead of following someone else's script. Lily had spent her childhood being moved between homes, never quite belonging anywhere. She'd spent her early 20s surviving instead of living. She'd built walls to protect herself from people who'd proven they couldn't be trusted. And then she'd met a man who was also running from expectations, a little girl who needed someone to choose her, And she'd made a decision that changed everything. She'd stayed. Not because it was easy, not because it was safe, but because sometimes the scariest thing and the right thing are the same thing. Emma appeared in the doorway again, holding Mr. Whiskers and Patches. "Can't sleep." "Come here," Lily said. Emma wedged herself between them, and they stood there looking out at the city that had brought them together. "Tell me the story again," Emma said. "About how you and Daddy met." "You've heard it 100 times," Daniel said. "I want to hear it 101 times." So Lily told her about spilling coffee and fake relationships and family dinners that went wrong. About how sometimes the best things start as lies that turn into truth. About how love isn't about being perfect. It's about being willing to show up even when you're scared. Emma fell asleep halfway through, curled against Lily's side. They carried her to bed together, tucked her in with both stuffed animals, and stood in the doorway watching her breathe. "Thank you," Daniel said quietly. "For what?" "For taking a chance on us. For staying when it would have been easier to run. For being exactly what we needed." "You took a chance on me too," Lily pointed out. "Some random assistant who spilled coffee on your lobby floor." "Best decision I ever made." They went to bed in a room that smelled like home, in an apartment full of Emma's toys and half-finished art projects and the comfortable chaos of actual living. And Lily fell asleep thinking about the girl she used to be, the one who moved between foster homes believing she was too broken to be worth keeping, the one who built walls instead of bridges, the one who survived but didn't know how to actually live. That girl would never believe this ending was possible. But Lily had learned something important over the past 18 months. The thing about endings is that they're also beginnings. Every time a door closed, another one opened. Every time someone left, it made room for someone who'd stay. And sometimes the family you're born into isn't the family you're meant to have. Sometimes you find your people in unexpected places. In marble lobbies and family dinners that go sideways. In 5-year-olds who decide you're worth keeping. In men who are brave enough to walk away from billions to protect what actually matters. Sometimes the risk you take to save yourself is the same risk that builds everything you never knew you needed. Lily had walked into Daniel's life planning to stay for a few weeks. She'd stayed for forever. And in the morning, she'd wake up to Emma's voice calling for breakfast. To Daniel, already awake and working on plans to help more kids get better education. To a life that was hers, not because someone gave it to her, but because she'd chosen to build it. That was the real ending. Not perfect, not smooth, not the fairy tale people expected when they heard about the billionaire CEO and his assistant, but real. And that made it worth everything. Outside, the city kept moving. Millions of people writing their own stories, making their own choices, building their own endings. Inside, 3 people who'd all been lost in different ways had found each other. And they were home.